I have faith that the Constitution will be saved as prophesied by Joseph Smith. But it will not be saved in Washington.
Travis Wayne Goodsell, church news time, and it's early. Most likely, yeah, they put them up after I did my church news yesterday. Although the top one was this morning, or this afternoon, whenever it was. And so, yeah, notice the video I did this morning. Now granted, YouTube was having some problems when I posted my video, just right before. And as I was watching my video, I noticed that YouTube was toying around, back to their same old bullying, deleting views, deleting thumbs up, and then suppressing it. They wouldn't let it go past 5 when it was actually at 12 at the time that I had checked. But yeah, they weren't even going to let my video be on my video page either. It's just back to the same old bullying. This is Brigham Young and his Danites. This is what they do. So notice the security guards. Told ya. Each of them are packing. Each of them have a bulletproof or a bullet protector. Whether it's bulletproof, I'm sure it can handle regular bullets. Cop killers, I don't know. I don't know if the church wants to spend that much money on that for them. But you see the driver, he's a anti-Mormon or an apostate killer. And the guy in the passenger seat, also security guard. And then this security guard who's walking on Biden's side, or Bednar's side. Yeah, and they all have bald heads, wearing the sunglasses, wearing the uniforms. Because normally they would be wearing suits. So, well, there it is. It's all about the church, and it's a state holiday. I warn you, you don't believe. And so the church also welcomes the 2034 Winter Olympics. Why? Why should they care about it? They didn't welcome Zelensky when he came to town. They didn't welcome Kamala Harris when she came to town. So why the Olympics? We all know damn well why. It's because it's coming to Utah, and the church owns and operates the state of Utah. What did you think today was all about? And so in 2034, the church also expects to have this as their kingdom back. Nobody is supposed to know about this, remember? I'm a bad boy for telling you. And so you got presiding Bishop Casse, who's in Paris, speaking to the youth about how you can skip your mission too by becoming an Olympian for the 2034 Olympics. And President Freeman, which she's showing a picture, it looks like. So she's, well, see adults in the audience. So I think she's either the primary or young women's president, but regardless of who she is, what an amazing heritage is ours. Danite. That's our heritage. Any Mormon who's in denial of this hasn't done your genealogy. Shame on you. I've been obedient. Why haven't you been obedient? Why are you getting upset and angry at me for being obedient when you're not obedient? And so this is the main part of the video, now that the intro is over. I was born and raised in the covenant with two parents who likewise were born and raised in the covenant. They both served missions. My dad went to Japan, mom went to the eastern states, specifically in Canada. I think it was either Montreal or Quebec. I can't remember which. And she was in there the whole time, the whole 1.5 years. Because she hadn't gotten married at 21 years of age. She fooled around at BYU, Hawaii after graduating high school in Southern California, Ventura. Because that's where Elvis had been. And that's where the church also has BYU, Hawaii. And so that's how she was able to justify it, to have her parents pay for her to go there to BYU, Hawaii. And then she claims that because her parents were racist, she was not allowed to date the locals. And so she could only date the sailors who came to port. You're away from your parents. How are they going to know unless you tell them? Lots of other Mormon girls go wild at college. Why didn't you? Whatever. Don't believe you. Ain't gonna happen. And so, yeah, we all are placed in the same situation from birth. We are lied to by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're supposed to be Jewish. We're told we're Christian. And so everything is a lie because it's the wrong seed. The seed is false. Each and every single one of us are at least told correctly that we are supposed to go through the Book of Mormon line upon line, precept upon precept, but then they'd tell us not to produce the fruit. But that's what the Book of Mormon tells us to do if we actually obey and go through the Book of Mormon line upon line, precept upon precept. We eventually will get to Alma chapter 32, starting in verse 28. And then we go, oh, whoops, oh man, now I gotta start from the beginning. And so, yes, you start from the beginning. And the first precept you are told is that the Book of Mormon is written in the learning of the Jews, language of the Egyptians, which means it's the religion of the pre-Babylonian captivity, verse 4, Jews who were Egyptians. So you need to learn their religion, or at least, since we didn't have Google search back in those days, or the internet when Google didn't get it right, especially with AI now, nothing is right. Dear God, I warn you, and the people who are experts in AI warn you, and nobody's listening. They're just cranking up the stock prices for AI, and it's gonna crash, and they're gonna do what Bitcoin guy did. And then there's nothing anybody can do about it because they've tanked the internet because of AI. Just like the crash last Friday, or was it? It was Friday, wasn't it? Because it's been 5 days now. Or was it Saturday? It must have been Friday. I think it was Friday. But how many ever days ago it was? You know, Delta is still struggling, and now there's an investigation as to why Delta can't fix their problem. They didn't get the right IT guys to go through each and every single computer individually. That's what I'm finding out. The news, I think it was NBC News that I first heard about it from, they were saying that they had to have their IT guys go through each and every single computer that was affected to do some kind of tweaking in the system of each computer device. It can't be done on a single thing. And so, yeah, the stock prices for the cyber company tanked. I warned you. I told you in advance it was going to happen. There it is. Nobody believes me. Everybody thinks, no, all is well in America, Travis. Just like all is well in Salt Lake City, Utah. But nonetheless, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to produce the results. Is it true? Is the Book of Mormon pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptian in doctrine, in precept? That's what you run the test for. So if you run the test for Christianity, you'll then apostatize and leave the church. Because cows, no, there wasn't cows in pre-Babylonian America. There's plagiarism throughout the Book of Mormon. This can't be true. Stuff like that. But that's as far as you know. It's not Christian. That's it. That's as far as all FOMOs, ex-FOMOs, and nevermos go. Because they didn't start from the beginning and use that for the interpretation of the whole Book of Mormon. Botched it from the beginning. So when you get to 2 Nephi chapter 3, Mormons go, yay, the Book of Mormon's literal history true. It's Joseph who's prophesied, and he came. It's a miracle. Ex-foes and nevermos are going, yeah, well, it's a forgery. Of course it's in there. Joseph Smith wrote it with his rock and a hat. Really? He's that talented to do all that plagiarism over 3 dozen different sources that were contemporary in his time, and only a month and a half with Oliver Cowdery at the Whitmer home. That's impressive, to pull the wool over the Whitmers by hiding all those books. Or does Joseph Smith have a photographic memory? He reads a book once and he's got it memorized. He knows the exact page, where it was, the exact wording. You just tell him a page number and he'll start quoting from the top to the bottom. Is he that impressive? No. We would have heard of that. And so, yeah, there are some impossible things when you turn Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon into literal history. When you use science, when you use logical Socratic methodology. But Mormons are anti-science, anti-logic, using fallacy arguments to defend the church. They have to, because they don't want to be like the Expos and the Nevermos. And so it's sad to see Mormons who have gone on to get higher education outside of the BYUs. That is a real education, not a church-biased psychology tampered with science education. Psychology is not a science. It is fallacy. It's called a pseudoscience because it uses fallacy, falsehoods. Again, how do we know? Well, we put it to the test. They have words. We see if the fruit is true or not. Oh, no, fallacy. Psychology is a fraud. They're a cash cow system. And so they use the same tactics that bullies do, that MAGA is using. They probably taught it to MAGA. See, MAGA are the bullies using psychological bullying. The deep state Dems embrace psychology to do the work for them as representatives for the people. Both use psychology, just in a different way. And America is about to be destroyed this year. And so Joseph Smith and Hiram did not convert to the Danites, despite the Danites claiming Joseph at least did. He was leading the Danites. Whatever. If you're going to make that claim, you can't keep the documents that expose you as the frauds. Oops, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints published the Joseph Smith Papers, the original documents that exposes it all. That's why Mormons will never read them, because the church will be proven precept upon precept to be false. So Mormons got to play dumb. Literally, Mormons have to play dumb. Oh, no. Intelligence equals apostasy. I'll be possessed by the devil if I gain intelligence. All because of September 6th. All because of finding out that there was a rock involved with a hat, which had nothing to do with the composition of the Book of Mormon. Joseph Smith didn't do any of it. Sidney Rigdon. Science tells us Sidney Rigdon and Sr. had to rewrite the 116 pages after Martin Harris stole it from Jr. They had the originals. Joseph Smith tells us he was there copying it all down. So he had a copy of the original 116 pages, which the 116 pages have been found. You don't believe me? Seriously? You're listening this far into the video and you still don't believe me. It's Freemasonry exposed by this nom de plume, William Morgan. It's exactly 116 pages. It goes only up to a Master Mason because Joseph Smith Sr. was only the level of a Master Mason, so that's as far as he knew to go. He's the one who wrote that too. He was giving clues to those who had eyes to see and ears to hear and noses to smell and lips to lick and hands to grope. And so that's what they mean by the 116 pages, is because he's trying to let you know about 9/11/1826 and what the Book of Mormon is. It's a warning to America about the Danite threat, because they found out. Joined the church to destroy it. And so Joseph and Hiram stayed true to the end of their dying breath. But there were many others who got fooled by them as missionaries. Whether they were the Danites intentionally joining to destroy Joseph with the secret combination, or being converted by those Danites to the wrong name of the church, to the wrong religion. And so all of those converts were not taking the Book of Mormon as serious as it needed to be. And thus Joseph Smith came out with the Doctrine and Covenants passage of the membership being under condemnation. Or it was just the one guy. Let's find out. Maybe it was Hiram. I was made for love. $157. Yeah, section 84. They shall remain under this condemnation until they repent and remember the new covenant, even the Book of Mormon, and former commandments which I have given them, not only to say, but to do, according to that which I have written. You can't just quote the Book of Mormon and say you believe. You have to actually do what the precepts are, because that's how you find out whether they're true or not. Oh, I can't just use a spiritual witness feeling? And this was only September to 22nd and 23rd. Interesting. 1832. Interesting. 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 And if you're clueless as to what I'm referring to, that you have no clue what the significance of September 23rd is, would it help if I put 2017? No? 185 years ago? 185 years later, huh? Interesting. That would have been cool if it was 180. But 1827. When did Joseph start translating by the gift and power of God the Book of Mormon? I rule you all! Tree of Life. The Jewish Tree of Life. You're supposed to know Jewish, because you're supposed to read the second verse of the first chapter of the first book, learning of the pre-Babylonian Jewish Egyptians. And so, let's put Google to the test. Jewish religion, tree of life. According to Chabad source, or Chabad source, the tree of life is to be interpreted in the following way. The tree represents a series of divine emanations of God's creation itself. Ex nihilo? No. 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 Who put this in here? Under Wikipedia, though, the first link, it's near sung in 1998. Got a Christian trying to infiltrate Jewish Kabbalah. How can you get ex nihilo from a tree that starts with a seed? A seed is not ex nihilo. What the hell? Dear God. Ex nihilo came from Christianity. They changed the text to make it in the beginning. I want to scream. So much misinformation. And people who will not do the Book of Mormon process, which is also in the Bible. Remember, the Book of Mormon plagiarized the Bible. You're going to be easily suckered and fooled by these liars of misinformation, of speculation, of opinion, of falsehood. You need to get your own testimony, not borrow it from some other sucker who's got it from some liar face. But yeah, the tree of life. There are 10 lines to, or 10 points with 18 connectors, tying it all together. And so, using a form of Kabbalah called Gematria, they don't have J's, you get 180. You times them. And so, as with the founding, or the starting of the Book of Mormon, the first year, and even to the day, because he goes on the 22nd in the evenings, which is the Jewish day of the 23rd, which would have been a completely different number in the Jewish calendar, but in the evening it's the next day. And so on the 23rd, Joseph Smith gets the plates to begin Sidney Rigdon's writing of the book. But that's the clue they're giving you. And so 180 years later, from the seed that would be the Book of Mormon, that you are supposed to hold to the iron rod to get to the fruit of the tree of life, is 23rd September 2017. the start of the ministry of your Christ, whom Joseph Smith is the Christ to prepare the way for his coming. And that's what you miss in 2 Nephi chapter 3, verse 5. And so, yes, I already figured it out from the death of Joseph Smith. 1844 to 2024. 180 years. Yeah. See how they did that? I don't know if Joseph Smith knew other than because his death brings about the resurrection, which is not a resurrection of the no. Insurrection, resurrection. They're all the same thing. Rising. That's the core word in both. Insurrection is the coup of the rising of Joseph's church. It was couped by Brigham Young. That's the insurrection. Then you have a resurrection to restore the original seed that was insurrected. And so, from the death of Joseph Smith and his church, 180 years later, Tree of Life, you get the restoration that Joseph Smith was preparing Mormons for, the big Exodus in Zion. This is actually the third resurrection. Because Mormons missed the first, ex-foes missed the second, now we're on the third for the Nevermos. But if you're brand new because YouTube kept you from my channel all these years, don't worry. You come in when you come in. But you have to follow the same process even with my videos. You can't just assume that I'm wrong because you've been lied to and believe that it's true. You feel it with every fiber of your cereal in the morning. So every single one of you should have been doing this with the Book of Mormon. 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 2 to find out that it's Jewish Kabbalah. Well, did anybody learn about Jewish Kabbalah? Yeah, Senior did in Vermont. And so, William Morgan's original 116 pages were too much Freemasonry in it. And so, Martin Harris was uncomfortable, wasn't getting the right feeling, and stole them. He wanted to show his anti-Mason committee in Palmyra. He's concerned. Does this have anything to do with 9/11, 1826 in Canandaigua, New York? Oh no, Joseph Smith about blew everybody's cover and ruined the warning to America. Whew. Apparently they didn't see it like William or Martin Harris thought he did. But to ensure that such a thing would not happen again, Senior instead put more Jewish Kabbalah in there. And he had already chosen his two sons. Junior was to be Messiah ben Joseph. Hiram to be the bloodline for Messiah ben David. 2 Nephi chapter 3. The trees of life. So Joseph Smith is the foundation, the seed. and Messiah ben David, who is Emmanuel, the Jewish Christ. All Jews have no clue because they don't consider the Book of Mormon. They don't read it. And if a Jew did read it, they should know that they're supposed to use Jewish Kabbalah. And then they'll say, no, this is a false book. I don't believe in Jewish Kabbalah. I'm an Orthodox Jew. But Orthodox Jews are looking beyond the mark, as well as Jewish Kabbalists. Because you're not supposed to get extreme into thinking that every single letter in the Torah has somehow a secret code. No. Prophecy and revelation is pretty simple. It's not complicated or for elite persons with super sacred knowledge that others don't have. No. And so, the sad reality is that these Danites, Illuminati, infiltrating the Scottish Rites Freemasonry and then into Joseph's church through Heber, is that Heber took the responsibility to care for Hiram's wife. That's why she went and no other Smith went. George Albert Smith was not an original Smith. He's like an uncle thing. I'm talking about the main family who were in the know with Joseph. And the main family didn't know. Lucy Mack didn't really know. She knew something was going on. She knew she wasn't really supposed to talk too much about it. Which is hilarious in her autobiography. And so, talking about the Book of Mormon, she goes, "That's exactly like my husband's dreams when we were in Vermont." And there they are in the Book of Mormon. Oh dear, you're so cute. And then, when she's talking about Joseph Smith's 1838 history, Joseph says that she joined the Presbyterian faith along with some of his siblings. And so she gets to that and says, "I refer you to my son's account." She won't talk about it. Oh, hilarious. Because technically, she was pissed with a Presbyterian preacher who told her Alvin is burning in hell and there's no redemption for him. Because he didn't get baptized as a Presbyterian. She joined, whatever. That's even worse than Mormon missionaries stalking a couple who lose their child to whatever reason and say you can be reunited with your child in eternity only if you start paying the church and then are worthy to go through the temple and then can do the work by proxy for your kid. I think the Presbyterian had this church beat, but just barely. The whole extortion racket that's going on, that's pretty bad. Dear God. And so, yeah, that's why she came with Brigham Young. And it was Heber C. Kimball that maliciously took her for the sole purpose of indoctrinating indoctrinating his boys into his falsehoods, corrupting the field with tares. And so you see that with Joseph Fielding Smith Sr., as he was literally a Nazi before the Nazis were even invented, although it was a German word for the poor people or the working class, something like that. I can't remember. But regardless, I mean, dear God, he was a stickler for the original underwear. They had a different kind of underwear. I think it was little notches rather than the buttons. I don't know, but I mean, seriously, he would not change to the new fashion. He stuck with the old. And way to perfection, where he just confesses, yeah, we're going to coup America in the future. In the first year of the latter days, when the actual Christ is going to start his ministry to Mormons in the Salt Lake Valley, there will be a president put on the throne of America by a foreign government of Russia. Yeah, Joseph Smith Sr. was awesome. But if you're thinking Christian, you don't see it. You can't see it. J.D. Vance and Trump. They still joke about Hulk Hogan out of the context of what it was intended to be. He does his patented ripping of the shirt, which he did in his shows. But this time, what was underneath was Trump and J.D. Vance to introduce them. And that Trump can get money from it. Because that's all he does. He does things for money. And nobody catches on to this. But anyway. And so, yeah, Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. was fully indoctrinated, just like every other convert of these Danites. They have such a strong lie enforced with threats of violence and murder and extortion that it is extremely difficult for any of us to pull out of it, to recognize something's not right here. I need to run for my life. They have been pulling the wool over not just members' eyes, but all the world. They have been lying in wait all these years, hoarding money, waiting for now. And they failed in 2020. And so now they have to do it, and they've got to rush because they needed that other stuff taken care of this year too. And even they have backups in case this year fails as well. Because already they're calling for Biden to resign. They got him to quit through their bullying. Now they're demanding he resign. And what happens if Biden resigns? They don't have to worry about Kamala Harris anymore. That is now removed from the equation. Doesn't matter if she's running for president. Doesn't matter if she debates Trump and humiliates Trump publicly. Doesn't matter if she wins the election. They have the backup in place then, with Biden gone, because Kamala Harris becomes the acting president until the decision of this election. No vice president, because she would have to call somebody to be that position and be Senate approved. And the deep state Dems are denser than ding ding and are not catching on, because they've apparently got amnesia as to what happened on January 6, 2021. Trump orders Pence, the vice president, to decertify the election. And so this time it's a Democrat president. So what did you think they're gonna do this year as a backup in case civil war doesn't stop them instead? Remove Biden, make Harris the president, no vice president. The Speaker of the House now declares the certification of the election. Who do you think he's gonna choose? It's all plotted. They have no originality. They steal, they lie, they murder. It's all in secret. They all protect each other. It's right there in the Book of Mormon. So, 3rd Nephi chapter 7. Because they failed in 2020. So the national divorce is this year. And so yes, each and every single one of you are put to the test to see if you will obey the Book of Mormon and hold to the iron rod and learn line upon line, precept upon precept, producing the fruits as I just demonstrated for you in this very video with something brand new. And then you are held accountable. You now know the truth. Are you going to be an Avraham Gileadi and lose your honor and integrity? Or are you going to choose the right, stand for truth, and leave the great and abominable church and seek for your Christ? Like I said, it's too late now. Latter days are over. We're about to be utterly destroyed. But it's unclear as to how many Mormons in faith crisis are going to choose to follow their Christ now that they've learned that the church was false after it's destroyed. It has to fall, as prophesied. If the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints continues on into the election and after the election and survives the Civil War and survives the World War and the Holocaust, then yeah, the church will continue to rule and reign in the valleys of Utah as their kingdom, welcoming the Olympics in 2034. And so, yeah, they'll convince the Olympic Committee, we're still operating, you can still hold it here. We've still got everything all set up, ready to go. No need to worry. And so the new world order of fascist governments of Russia, China, maybe Saudi Arabia, North Korea maybe. He's being used as a patsy by Putin. I don't know if he knows that or not. And then there's China that he'd have to deal with. But yeah, I'm not sure. Central and South America will be guerrilla warfare again. And so there really won't be leaders. It'll be similar to Africa, that you have tribal gangs that are running the place. And that will be the fate of Africa. The Philippines, yeah, if they don't get destroyed by monsoons, they too will descend into tribal warfare. And so, yeah, the pattern for the Book of Mormon of a national divorce where the states run independent of each other, that will be similar to the rest of the nation, where the nations will collapse and it'll be tribal warfare in each of the nations. And so, yeah, everybody's waiting for America to fall. And they're putting their people in position. They're getting things all set up to strike immediately when America descends into chaos this election. They're all waiting. And so if the government leaders are not talking about it, and they are seriously unaware that it's going to happen, that's because they're allies and have no clue about the enemy and their tactics. Despite all my tips and warnings, and the government won't do anything. It took Bill Barr I sued the church in 2020, according to prophecy. And the Exodus. And because it was a RICO case, I included the Insurrection Act as part of the RICO case. And so it had to go to Bill Barr to see if he was going to do anything about it. He chose not to. But he then got up, talked to a group of prosecutors, and says, hey, I learned about this Insurrection Act. Use it on the Black Lives Matter protesters. They didn't. But they did use it for January 6ers. You're welcome. Captain Moroni had to do it alone. And so, yeah, it took Bill Barr to set it up for me to save America, briefly, temporarily. Because the deep state Dems did nothing. They had a congressional hearing, told us exactly what we already knew from watching it live on television. Trump's rally was recorded live. We all heard him. We know exactly what he was doing. We watched live. It wasn't a vacation. They weren't tourists. We know the MAGA leaders were lying to us on purpose. Because that's what bullies do. But we didn't realize that they were pooping on the walls. What the hell? I mean, yeah, my childhood peers were also talking about pooping. Dear God. So I should have seen it coming. Everything my childhood peers, who were white supremacist Christian nationalists, were saying, that I was afraid for my life just being near them, even though I was embraced as a celebrity, as being on the basketball team. But dear God, the abusive things that came out of their minds. That's what their seed was. And now the seed has produced the fruits. And I've been trying to warn people. So, there we have it. Alrighty. And so, yeah, each and every single one of you are like those who are threatened by bullies. Are you going to cave and pretend to be a fairy princess so that they can laugh at you for being a fairy princess? Because that's what they do. They bully you and name call you. If you cave and say, okay, I am what you say I am, then they laugh and go, I knew it, you are. And then it gets worse. Because you've confessed. If you don't confess, they'll just keep repeating over and over again until you do confess. And then they got you set up either way, they think. The only thing that stops them is to punish them. And in this particular case, for America, they are insurrectionists. The only thing that stops an insurrectionist is the Insurrection Act. Biden's not doing it. Kamala Harris has a history of not wanting to do it either. So what do you think's going to happen? They're going to actually do it. Because they'll have confidence that neither Biden, if he's still alive, or Harris, if she replaces Biden as the president temporarily, they know they won't do it. But as a backup, they have backups. This is what they do. They are the threat. And if Biden or Harris do invoke the Insurrection Act, they'll cry and say they're the victims. They're being abused by tyrants. It's what they do. It's the pattern of practice. Sensitive snowflakes. And thus, we've seen the Dems cave. Oh, we didn't mean to call you a Nazi. Even though that's exactly what you are. That's part of the neo-Nazis. We're sorry. We won't say that again. And then they laugh, and then they go and do Nazi stuff. And now you've seen Islam do the same bullying stunt since October 7th. The same thing. Oh, the innocent civilians who are protecting Hamas, shielding them, protecting Hamas who are holding hostages still to this day. Innocent civilians, oh no, they're starving. Their parents are dead for being insurrectionists against Israel. It's the same pattern. The UN, everybody around the world is now against Israel because of it. I'd always wondered, what would America be doing? Aren't we the mightiest nation in the world? Couldn't we just go in and blow everybody up and protect the Jews? What would America be doing that we could not save the Jews? That it takes Jesus to step in and do it? Now we know. Now we know.